hanging out. Dudes caught me in mid karaoke. Hi guys, I'm Alex, part of the Couple Action crew, and I'm here with the lovely, absolutely wonderful Miss Megs. How's it going, girl?
I'm doing good, girl. Ready to break down this match. This has been a barn burner of a tournament, and this match is no exception.
Absolutely. So if you're hanging out with us, thank you so much for hanging out with us. We really appreciate it. Just want to let you know, we do have Streamlabs open. If that's something you want to do, awesome, amazing. We'll love you for it. If you don't, even better, no big deal. As long as you give us a thumbs up or, comments or something, that would be very appreciated. So please and thank you. So Danny, our boy Danny's already in the chat. What's up, Danny boy? What's up? Okay, so we're going to be diving into this match here in a few minutes, but first we do want to kind of go over some stats. We want to go over the good stuff, the juicy stuff. Also as a quick reminder about where we are in this little bracket here. Obviously, Collins, in order to get to the spot, he defeated several people. He had to get a match in order to even get in the singles tournament. He defeated John Roca, as well as Lon Harris, and another person I can't see up there. I can't see
that. Was Andres Gallego.
Oh, yeah, Andres Gallego, because on our screen is like a little red dot, so I can't read that.
It's covering it up.
I'm trying to comb the noggin. It's not working. Yeah, so obviously, what a great competitor, but this was his rookie season going into this singles tournament, so a lot of pressure for sure. Also, it's the last remaining competitor remaining in the singles tournament on behalf of Korruption, so no big deal. On the other end, we have Brendan Meyer, also part one of the Team Shazam that's going to be competing here in a few weeks on October 16th with a newly announced undercard match. That's going to be a real fun time for the team's tournament match. He played Alonzo Duralda, Mark Andraco, and now, this is third match in the tournament, Adam Collins. So, it's a lot of pressure. But the winner of this match, we already know, is actually facing Liz Shannon Miller. So that's a lot to take in.
It is a lot to take in. This has been, as I was saying up top, this has just been a crazy tournament, not only as far as the schedule, us trying to keep up with everything, but just the level of competition that we've been seeing. And definitely more than a few surprises.
Yeah, absolutely. There's been so many upsets this season, so many wonderful surprises, and especially from a stats point of view, I'm sure it's been interesting year for a lot of these little baby rookies. You feel me?
Absolutely. Yes.
I can't wait to get from you being our stats queen, obviously, our resident stats queen here at C2A. I can't wait for you to dive into at the end of the season, go over like the best competitors based on the numbers, most surprising competitors, and all that good stuff. But we're not going to be able to know some of those numbers until, we kind of inch closer to the end of the season. So that's something you're excited to do?
Absolutely. Always about diving into those numbers.
Yes, all about the numbers. All about the numbers. All about the numbers. Okay, well, speaking of numbers, we are going to be diving into your stats trait for, this match in particular. So, guys, this is going to be filled with a whole bunch of spoilers. If you have not seen it, why the F not? Go get over it. Definitely go check it out. We love you hanging out with us, but you should definitely go watch it. Or you can just actually watch it with us. It's totally fine as well. You just have to be okay with spoilers. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and bring up this little stats page real fast. So obviously we have Brendan the Kid Meyer against Adam Coyote Collins. And this was an intense one. Can you walk us through, round by round, this table, Megs?
Yeah, absolutely. So round one, they both get perfect 8 out of 8, and they both get the bonus. So automatically, this is going to be a high caliber match. They're both locked in. Meyer does defer to Collins on round 2, and Collins decides to spin away from action adventure, ends up on Angela Bassett. The only time he has to check down to multiple choice is in that first question. The rest of it, he sweeps for 6 points by 2-pointer and 1 multiple choice for a total of 7 points there in round 2. And then we go down to Meyer, who decides to stick with sports on his first spin, does unfortunately give up a 2-point steal, which even if things had gone down to a 1-point multiple choice steal, we could have been looking at a very different game moving forward. But that is what happens there in that first question. But then he sweeps the rest of the round for 6. Then we get into round 3. Meyer has to go first. He ends up hitting all 5 or all 10 points inside of his round 3, with Collins missing his 3-pointer question. So that puts us into a tie situation, which forces us into sudden death, with it going 4 questions deep into sudden death, with Meyer ultimately missing on that last question, giving Collins the win in this match. So crazy turns of events for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, you could oh my gosh. Now, something that's kind of interesting to me as, looking at these numbers is that I am just completely amazed at both the accuracy rating and points per earned. Obviously, it's 29 and 28. Now, Brendan Meyer in particular. Now, obviously, looking at this, you can obviously tell he lost by 1 point in overtime. Thing is, it's kind of interesting is that this is definitely one of the highest scored matches we've seen from the singles tournament, but what we've seen in general, one of the highest scored matches overall. I do believe earlier this year, Brendan did participate in the match over in New York up against Dan Murrell and his teammate, William Bibiani, and it was the highest point match that we've ever seen for a singles match. And
I think it tied current record.
Yes.
27 is it 27? Is the current high points inside of a singles match. So this does have to take sudden death into account. So without sudden death, you end up with it would have been 25-25. So inside of regulation, it's still those types of numbers win you a singles match on most days. So
on 95.5% of the time, it wins you that match. I mean, that's incredible.
Yeah, and accuracy in general is just out of this world when it comes to when you look at a regular seasons match for singles. I could see that type of accuracy and expect, he probably won that match.
Yes, absolutely. Well, one of my big takeaways as well is that looking at this scoreboard, as I'm going to go ahead and take it off, is that they both missed their round 2 question, the first question, and the round number in the second round. And it's kind of interesting, Adam obviously goes into multiple choice, and also he is able, and Adam is able to get a huge 2-point steal. It's huge. It's massive.
That is a crazy moment of the match. It's like, oh no.
Yeah, it's a huge deal for sure. And I don't know specifically, but I don't know as big of a moment as that was in the match, because we're going to dive into it later, some of our favorite moments of the match. But I don't know if that was indeed the defining point of the entire match.
It's between that and Collins missing his 3-pointer in round 3. Because if Collins hits that, it doesn't matter whether or not Meyer would have given up a 1-point or 2-point steal. He still would have been ahead. Or Collins still would have ended up being ahead at the end if he was able to hit that 3. So I think, I don't know. Those 2 moments are definitely the 2 biggest defining moments that lead us to where we ultimately get to with sudden death. Because at sudden death, you reset because it's whoever first on that. So, but definitely that 2-point swing there in that second round for Meyer, and then Collins not able to pull that 3-pointer were definitely the 2 things that got us to sudden death. But I think to Brendan's point, he recovers nicely, but that sets him up to be much more potentially nervous getting into that third round, knowing that he can't miss.
Absolutely. I mean, the guy is only human, obviously, but we are going to be we're going to doing a little bit of competitor profiling here, after this match as well. We wanted to dive into the numbers of the competitors right now, and then watch the match, and then dive into the profiles later on, and really analyze maybe the personalities, what kind of competitors these guys are, towards the end. So definitely stay tuned. We're trying something new today, so we hope you like it. Please let us know what you think. Okay, so all right, you want to get to the match? You want to do it?
Yeah,
you ready?
Let's go.
Okay, all right. Okay, let me know if the volume is okay. I'd appreciate it.
Well, ask Brennan. Are you ready to go?
Ready to go.
Yeah, I think that'll work. Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
And let's get ready to schmodown.
Still gives me chills. Chills, not chills.
I translate.
Starred in the 1990s action films Striking Distance, Mercury Rising.
Action adventure is such a hard category. There's
especially
a reason why.
And especially in the 90s decade, because it's like there were so many.
Like the amount of Die Hard movies alone.
And many of them, unless you are a diehard fan of them, are very forgettable.
Yeah.
There we go.
Let's be honest.
Starting off 1-1.
Yeah, the only movie that I recognized in that trio of films listed was The Jackal, and I have not seen that movie since I was like 12. So.
Yeah, it was like cursory by name. Like that was the only reference I had on those.
Yes, absolutely. Oh, let me just say, I was so excited this question was asked. I love this movie. I do. It's not a perfect movie, but it's so good.
Well, first I want to know what it
warms the heart,
Yeah, I mean, I feel like us being about the age that we are, like those era of movies are just warm in our hearts in general.
Yeah. Is there any movie in particular for you that, even if you see like the movie poster, your like heart flutters a little bit?
Dramas.
I would
any genre, anything.
Yeah, anything.
Mother figure to a boy named Chiron.
Just because it rarely gets brought up, but it's such a good franchise. Anytime that How to Train Your Dragon comes up, I love it. I'm very happy.
Yeah. Not kidding. I know that. What a great trilogy. It is arguably the best trilogy of all time. But also it is definitively the best animated trilogy of all time. That's for dang sure.
I would definitely put it up there with some of the big contenders there. So
I believe it's Tom, the competitor Tom. He did an article with Collider recently ranking not all, but like the top 15 Jared Butler movies.
Oh, nice.
And How to Train Your Dragon was actually number 1.
Wow.
So I was like,
nice.
I like that.
Now, this is interesting on this question. Collins calls for the JTE. I feel like he was trying to get it finished, written down. Not that he was necessarily trying to think of the answer, because he's trying to write it. He didn't start writing it down soon enough to get it in time.
Disney film 8
Below. Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, it's sometimes, and not to mention, like we've seen in the past, even if you know the answer, if you don't have it written out correctly, it's going to come back and bite you in the ass.
And 5.
Yeah, that is a great question, Weston. How many Match of the Year contenders do we have now? That's a conversation.
There's a ton.
100% have to have. But this is definitely in the conversation.
I feel like
it will be nominated.
Yes.
I guarantee you it will be nominated. That's in the Liz Shannon Miller Bibbs match. Guarantee you it's going to be nominated.
Well, even Chance versus Del Rio. That went into second match as well. That was good.
That was a great match. I think it kind of made it a million times better because the assumptions going in.
Yeah.
It's like if you go to a movie and you're like, you expect it to be the best movie ever, and then you watch it and you're like, yeah, it's a great movie, but I don't know about it to be the best movie ever. That kind of gives you a letdown versus like if you know nothing going into it or assume it's going to be trash or something, and you walk out and you're like, damn, that was great.
Yeah. Well, it's like, and I had I expected that Chance was likely going to win, but the way in which he had to fight to win that match was just like, okay, he's ready to play.
Again, if we're talking, like I was talking about steals when it comes to, I'm already like thinking of drafts. Man, I just want to do a draft. I want to be like put together like, let's do it like a C2A draft where each of us like represent a manager and we're all drafting. Can we make that?
That would be crazy.
I'll take anyone, but a competitor that is 100% is going to be a huge steal is going to be David Del Rio. He is such a great competitor, and oh my gosh, he's only been in like 3 matches, and he's like I think 1 and 2 or something, but. When he loses, they're still fantastic matches. They're like neck and neck.
Absolutely.
It's not.
Yeah, I definitely hope that he can. I hope his schedule allows him to continue playing because he is so much fun to watch.
What is the name of the
Fingers crossed.
Knew this one right off the bat.
Ditto.
And this movie came up in the let's see. It was Jader and Brittany Young. It was a different worded question, but the same.
Yeah.
Same movie.
Well,
I think I'm going snake.
I asked PJ this. I messaged him like a month or 2 ago, asking about monster movie category questions in particular. Yeah, like what defines a monster movie? And because me looking at this, I'm like, an alligator obviously is a real thing. We all know that they're around the world. But in this movie, is Crawl considered a monster movie?
Drawn by hand, computer,
and so, well, it's one thing if it's Lake Placid or Jurassic Park, where it's supposed to be crazy, massive in size, or if it's supposed to be like an extinct, dinosaur or something. But if it's like a real thing that's potentially just out to get you, is that technically a monster movie?
Batman, some Bible.
I mean, I more put that in the thriller side of the horror thriller category, definitely.
Pens down.
But I don't know if I would necessarily jump right into it being a monster.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just because there's so many other elements to it. It's the hurricane, which is bringing the alligators in. Like there's multiple elements instead of just the creatures themselves causing things.
Absolutely. The definite, like I know he said the definition of monster just because it is so arguable. You know, I asked him about, like, for example, the Babadook. You know, is that considered a monster movie? Or The Exorcism, is that considered technically a monster movie? And movies that include like demons or gods or things like that. Because someone was telling me, Sinister. It's like one of my favorite monster movies, and I was like, wait, what?
Yeah,
and I'm like, great movie. Is it a monster movie though? And so it kind of got me thinking about its definition. So I messaged PJ.
Yeah, I feel like I agree with the idea of like if it's including gods, demons, that's more of a supernatural, which is its own category aside from monster. Yeah, I would agree with that.
But also there are supernatural monster movies. Like Dracula is a supernatural. Like all Universal monsters are supernatural though in nature, right?
You're gonna have 4 questions.
Frankenstein, but like werewolf. I mean,
when I think supernatural, I think of like deity, more religious side of things versus. So that's how I would define more supernatural. The idea of this is something that's outside of the realm of this world potentially. So that's how I do it.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because I almost feel like I don't want to say it's the opposite, but it's kind of the opposite for me. But that's why we work well together. Honestly, that's why I love it. This kind of back and forth. Okay, I'm gonna pause it here in a second. Yeah, as well.
We're gonna remove Shannon and Mr.
Actually.
All right, so we have.
All right, now
they're gonna go through their little jabber here.
Yeah,
seconds starting now.
This is kind of an interesting thing to me.
All right, good start.
Because
you know how we usually like to do this.
These are both huge talkers.
Player, he could go perfect to put the pressure right back on, but I'd rather know he did that, right?
But I feel like Brendan is talking out of nerves right now. Does that make sense?
Him to go first, if that's
he very well could be. He very well could. He's had a little bit of kind of nervous energy
if I wasn't.
That is a really cool shirt.
You gotta remember,
He's had a little bit more of a nervous energy kind of this whole season as far as the digital side of things go. So I feel like that's more of just kind of him. Not necessarily so much that he's definitely nervous. He's just this is how his energy is in general.
All right, Shannon, you got 60 seconds.
Yeah, no, absolutely, for sure. He's just like one of those competitors that, I don't want to say he feels nervous all the time, but you
can tell he's amped up. And he's
like, he's good. Let's just get the talker. Forever it's going to be ingrained in my memory.
All right.
The buzzers.
I remember Paul asking me.
I just have to rewind that moment. I'm like, are you serious? This is happening?
Well, it was so good. Oh my gosh, when we were there at Spectacular, we were like crying, laughing. And let's pause this for a hot second. I know you mentioned could you tell us the category?
Yeah, so what we have on there is I'm going to try and go in order as best I can. So there's Action and Adventure, Inner Geekdom, Angela Bassett, Oscars, Festival Darlings, Will Smith, Horror, John Hughes, Sports, 90s, and then Spinners and Opponent's Choice.
Now, based on that, like, which do you think are each other's strengths to be entered?
Okay. So I would.
Obviously, Inner Geekdom is something Adam Collins put in the wheel. He also put it in last time against Lon, and I
figured he was probably one to put in that one. I could see Brendan putting in either John Hughes or Angela Bassett, because he seems like the type of person who is going to go for more of those niche categories.
That's just a good competitor. I mean, well, the thing is, if you're going to be studying for Schmodown, you got to be studying for specific categories, studying for specific actors or directors like Ridley Scott, Angela Bassett, John Hughes. Those are much easier because it's such a finite number of films. That's only like John Hughes is just like 15, 20 movies if you include producerial stuff. So that's something to remember, because I think John Hughes is actually involved in a handful of movies in the 90s. But
and I wouldn't be surprised if Oscars was something that Meyer put on there too, because he is reportedly very good at that. However, that's also potentially something that would just be on. Yeah, Oscars is definitely, but it could have been one that was on there already, even, because that one could have been. Yes, it is a tradition, and I'm writing down so we're not doing the head turns. But yeah, as far as nothing else, Will Smith, I don't know. I don't know enough about either one of them to know for sure whether or not they would go for that slice in particular. Collins, maybe. I don't necessarily see Brendan really diving deep into that one, because Will Smith has a pretty wide filmography.
Yes.
You don't think it, but he does.
Yeah, it does. Everything from Wild Wild West to Concussion to 9 Pounds to that one random movie with Keira Knightley and Helen Mirren where they play like love and
stuff. I know what you're talking about. The name's escaping me, but yes,
it came out 2 years ago over the holidays. But he has a very deceivingly large filmography. Not only, and not to mention, I do think they initially, I know PJ said, or Abby said somewhere in the chat, they said that they, for a little bit there at the beginning of the season, they included producerial credits.
Yes, that's
so. So can you imagine someone like Steven Spielberg, a strength? Suddenly, the filmography that includes like random actor cameo and directors, suddenly it went to like 1,000 films, because he's involved with everything.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Ugh.
I feel like that's very on brand, actually, Thron. It's okay. That's true. I definitely did that. That's very true. I was that asshole, and I would do shit like that during live events. No pressure, guys. Okay, so
I am so excited to when we finally get to do live events and I actually get to come hang out with you guys. It's gonna be crazy and it's gonna be wild, and I will love every minute of it.
Action, like the action house. Okay, the action. Oh, the C2A house. Oh my God. It's going to be filled with so much love and jello shots and barbecue. It's going to be so awesome. And oh my gosh, there's going to be so much love all around. So many hugs. And oh my gosh, it's going to be great. Anyway, okay, back to the match.
Yes.
We can talk about Action House for years uninterrupted. Okay, so those were some of our ideas. I know you said, there are some ideas about in the chat, Oscars potentially. We also, like I said, we know for a fact it was Inner Geekdom. But yeah, so I'm nervous. Now we're going to get a little bit juicier. Both of them had perfect, including the bonus question, perfect round one. So we're going to be diving into round two. It's going to get a little juicier.
It's broad, like a lot of categories on this wheel. So I say we try it one more time to see if we can get something a little more narrow. But if we get action adventure, that'll be
totally agree. So I like your reasoning on this because you do definitely, unless you are really locked in to action adventure, it's
a hard one.
A really hard one too, as team action has exhibited.
Yeah, no joke. It's definitely one of those categories that, like dramas, family films, it's such a broad genre that it's so hard to study unless it's something you kind of grow up knowing, Yeah.
It's definitely, I mean, it's very attainable to get a perfect round, but it takes the right set of questions. And
absolutely.
It has to go your way versus something much more narrow like Angela Bassett. You know exactly how many films you're looking at. It's a lot easier to
Hello, Jake. What up, my dude? Yes, hiya, Jacques. This is a great question.
It is.
Multiple choice.
Is it
It's a hard question.
B, All Eyes on Me. C, Get On Up. D, Straight Outta Compton.
Notorious.
Now,
yes, for 1 point. Question 2. What famous singer stars as the character Savannah Jackson opposite Angela Bassett?
I knew this question, and I don't even know this movie all that much.
Whitney Houston.
Yes.
I'll say yeah.
She's on the cover of the movie, like the movie cover, like poster.
1991 crime drama.
Boys in the Hood.
Yes.
Another Boys in the Hood question. Just saying.
Yeah, it's coming up again. I feel like Angela Bassett has also come up a couple times this season. I don't have the numbers right in front of me, but I feel like it has been hit again by another competitor earlier this season.
Ourselves here.
Good guy Brendan clapping along.
Yes, that lovely Canadian attitude.
All right, we're going to drop you out here and we will bring back Corey.
Can you imagine if he went heel?
Starting now.
Wow.
Like what that would be like I saw on Facebook there was like, imagine like competitors like completely like did a complete 180. Yeah, like frat boy Whitney Seibold, bad guy Brendan Meyer. Can you imagine some of those characters? Or you can talk about like I can't control my anger, Coy John Drew. Things like that.
All right.
Well, yeah, that would definitely be something.
Wheel here.
Joe Schmo, your friendly neighbor, John Kaiser. Like, can you imagine some of those? That's crazy. And also, I want it. Like, can we get like set up like a what if show where that's the case?
Right. Yeah. It's all just kayfabe stuff.
All right.
Exclusive. It's only like for one match. Like one match. Like, I don't want a long term, but I would love to see Kaiser try to be a good guy. Like, hilarious.
Our conversations doesn't lend me to think this is our one. What do you think?
So he's struggling with this, whether or not he wants to keep it or not.
There is stuff on here that I could stay toe to toe with him. There's also stuff on here where it could really get out of. I think it could get out of hand.
Yeah,
which I think he's talking about the more broad categories.
Yes,
he's saying that, and I totally agree.
Inner Geekdom, potential steals,
even horror.
Oh my gosh,
I'm thinking horror, but
Jesus.
Yeah, look, I'd
It's
rather
a-
get to the first round than
Mhm.
try to
And you
go
never know
through
what
it
you're gonna
and
get with
wind up,
90s.
You know, we have
Mhm.
no idea what I'm gonna
Sure, it could be hocus pocus,
Remember when
but
we
also it
talked,
could be.
yesterday on Twitter with this particular player as far as how we especially in this category. And we've got 3 JCEs, which is also part of that plan.
Yeah, so honestly,
Yeah,
but
let's do it. Let's get it.
looking at
You
the
gotta take
wheel, though,
scores.
I
All
do
right,
think
so
this
we're
is a
gonna drop
smart
Toy
move
out.
on Brendan and Toy's part
So
to stick
Brendan,
with
move
it.
for a
Now,
second, bring back. All right. All
Now
right,
he
Brendan.
gets in his own way with
Sports
this,
films.
unfortunately, but
Your first
mm,
question worth 2 points unless you need multiple choice. Here we go. In the world of sports, you will find the first female ice skater to complete 2 triple axel.
I was so
jumps
proud
in
I knew this
competition.
question right away.
In which
now see,
film?
my brain went to Ice Princess for some reason. Like that was just like because that's not, I
That is
know, but like I
correct.
couldn't remember if that was
Correct.
exactly
Roll
the
again,
trick that
Coyote.
she did. But then when Collins had the seal, I'm like, oh,
In the world of
Mhm.
sports, you will find the first female ice
Well,
skater
the
to complete
I knew
triple
it wasn't
axel
like
jumps in
I've seen like
competition.
less than
In
5
which
ice
film?
skating movies total,
Mhm.
and most recently the one I could think of was I,
Tonya?
Tonya. And
Okay.
so I was like, that's the only one I could think of. That one I have never seen Cutting Edge. I remember Ice Princess, but I was like, that's all I got, honestly.
like Tanya I knew of, but I didn't watch it, and I wasn't paying attention to figure skating when all that happened. When that whole mess went on, knew this one.
Oh, I knew it. I was
Of
so
course,
proud.
Noah Emerald.
Gavin O'Connor, come on.
That is a deep cut.
I know, I was like,
For 2 points.
This would
Alright.
be anything Gavin O'Connor comes up, I'm like, yes, I know this.
I am praying for a warrior question.
Yeah.
I would love it to be like themed on the music. It's like what famous classical musician kind of thing,
Right.
or what famous classical song.
That's 2 more.
But
points,
like,
and the
how
kid
many people
knows his
actually know
sports.
names of classical songs? You
Alright,
know, it's
so
Ode to
Brendan,
Joy,
It
obviously.
would more be like, what is the composer that inspires
Going into
Frank
round.
Grillo's character and his training?
Sports
Like,
moves
or
for 2 points.
something to that
In
effect.
the film
But that's the thing. He doesn't
Zach
say
and
the name of the
Saran Knight.
composer.
What
He
famous
says
wrestler
he
before
specifically
SmackDown
only refers to
invented
the title of the song
helpful
"Ode to
advice?
Joy"
Dwayne the Rock Johnson.
in the movie.
He is known as the
He's-
Rock.
He says, listen to the Beethoven. I'm pretty sure he says it at some point. I'm pretty sure.
I could be totally wrong. I probably missed it, like
Three-point
going to the
game,
bathroom or
18-15,
something,
massive
or like
steal,
while
massive
crying my
steal
eyes
there
out.
as
You
we
know,
There's a lot of crying. Yes.
there's a lot of crying.
Round number 3.
Many tears.
Okay. Now I do want to take a moment to kind of like focus on like the point difference here, the deficiency. So going into the third round, Brendan is at 15 and Adam is at 18. That's a huge difference. That's a 3-point huge difference
Yes.
going into the third round, especially with competitors like these.
First question's worth
Yes.
2 points.
Now,
Next
to be completely
question,
honest,
3 points. Your
I
final
thought,
one,
oh
200
shoot, I
at
think we
the
might be
Will
done. I
is
think
worth
this is
5
it. I think we
of
might
the
be done with the
biggest points
match.
of the tournament.
But
To advance,
Mhm.
take on
I'm
Lightning.
not.
No, it's
We're
not.
not.
No, it's not.
The Coyote
There's
has come
something still in the works.
to give us his
Mhm.
3 lucky numbers first.
Yes.
So,
Now,
Coyote, from 1 to 20, what?
And just in general, a 3-point deficit is not impossible to come back from realistically, but it takes your opponent
110 and
Missing.
4.
at any
110
point. It
and
takes
4.
your opponent missing something and you going perfect at any point if you're down in this round. So
absolutely.
Having to go to round 3 and answer questions. Lucky for you, you're really
Yes.
good at answering.
First
This-
time.
it's the first time he's had to do it. I was excited. I'm like, yes, I get to see him in this situation.
At last.
At last, my love. Anyways,
Now,
we will.
let's also, I do want to kind of focus on the body language between the two right now as well. Is that, you know, I see, you know, obviously they're focusing on keeping those hands up. That's a big thing
Yeah.
right now. Obviously, there's a conscious effort on their end. But also, you see Brendan moving around a little bit. He's taking a step back. He's like doing his big breaths. He's doing a little bit of this. And that only happens, and people tend to do that generally when we're frustrated or nervous,
Mhm.
like, you know, or antsy. Like,
Yeah. And I'm sure he's thinking about that 2-point steal because
Yeah.
that 2-point steal doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And we're in a different situation here. So
Absolutely.
I should
Yeah.
have gone
But compare that to Adam.
the cutting edge. It just felt
He's
right
cool as
to
a
me.
fucking cucumber.
And,
He is.
He's
But
Totally
he also has a 3-point,
so I probably still
you know,
3-point
above him. So it makes sense that he's as calm as he is.
2-point situation.
You know,
Still
at the
might
same
be
time,
that
you're going
matter
against
what
Brandon,
round
so,
three
you know.
clean. We'll worry about
And once we hit into kind of the middle of this round 3, I want to see if any of this changes, because suddenly he's going to get put in a very different situation.
Totally.
And
Totally.
Shannon out here as we are going to begin round number 3. All right, here we go. Brandon, we start with you as you try to avoid the TKO here with and get your 2-pointer. Here it is. This is category number 1. Category number 1. That's spy films. Who plays the sexy agent Vanessa Kensington in
Elizabeth
Austin Powers'
Hurley.
International Man of Mystery? For 2 points. And now, in order to bounce it back to Adam Collins, you need to hit your 3-pointer. Your 3-pointer was number 10, and that is in the realm of Tom Cruise films. Tom Cruise films.
Tom
All
Cruise.
right.
If we want to talk about a filmography, Jesus.
Good. Yes, absolutely.
Tom Wilkinson and Terrence Stamp.
Valkyrie.
For 3 points.
Valkyrie. I've not seen this one, but I want to. I need to see this one.
That's a 3-pointer. That's a really good
It is,
3-pointer.
yeah, because it doesn't include the ones that you instantly think of when you think of Valkyrie. And Valkyrie had such an interesting ensemble anyway that there weren't huge standouts beside TC.
That corresponds.
I kind of disagree because Kenneth Branagh and Stanley Tucci and actually not Stanley Tucci, but Kenneth Branagh, he's on the cover of the movie.
Yes, he is. But when you think of Valkyrie, who do you think of first?
Tom Cruise and Kenneth Branagh.
Okay,
That's
fair.
They have like the size of the roles are like pretty darn equal.
Got it. I need to see it in its totality, so I may change my mind once I actually watch it. But like when I initially think I'm just a cursory understanding of the movie, that one's tough to get to because I don't think of those other characters.
Well, I honestly thought it was going to be a John Reacher movie, honestly. Like, because I didn't know the answer initially because I only made the connection because of Branagh, but I couldn't place the other actors. But also Valkyrie is also a very not as well known, Tom Cruise movie. People think of Mission Impossible. People think of Born on the 4th of July or that one where he's sliding into the living room with the socks and the shirt.
Oh, right.
Risky business. Yeah. They don't necessarily think of Valkyrie.
Yeah.
The Intern.
Now I knew that one.
I knew that one. So proud. I knew that one right away. Now he's like, okay. He took a moment.
Either way.
This is a hard one.
If he hits it, going to force him to try to get sudden death. If not,
I'm trying to come up with my own little hand motion.
Well, we're going to find out.
What would you do?
Brenda Meyer chose category 4, and that is in the realm of the 2000s. The 2000s.
A lot of years.
Years. All right, 2000.
2,000 years.
All right.
I'm sorry. That was a bad joke.
2000.
It's fine.
Brendan?
It's all fine.
Who plays Emil Mondavarius?
What the F? This question.
What in the world is this question?
In 2002.
Question.
Oh no.
This question is so hard.
And look at his face. He is like, oh man, what is this?
Oh my gosh. I am like feeling for him in this moment. My heart goes out to him because he is combing his noggin.
All right, here you go.
Yeah, he's repeat the question. Let's work through this. He's good enough to not panic, but he's definitely working overtime.
It's weird because when I try to answer a question that I know it but I don't know it, all right, he's doing this, I do this.
Oh, okay.
I had to jump out. It's just like so I go into my little zone thing for a second. I'm like this.
Now I feel like I
do hard questions.
Yeah.
I thought it was Andy Garcia.
It would have been a good guess. Absolutely.
That's correct.
Oh, now check out how one will repeat. Whether or not he didn't think he had another one, or he knew enough to be like, I'm gonna take a gander at this because any more time isn't gonna help me. Yeah. But, I was nervous.
Brendan Meyer goes
he probably thought there's no point in taking another JT because that's all I got. This is all I have. The only answer I could come up with.
The Yankee Clipper Joe DiMaggio's legendary number corresponds.
And Colin's just sitting over there still chill. He had one moment when he realized, when he realized that he missed it, he was like, oh, but then he locked right back in.
To tie Brendan Meyer and force sudden death overtime.
And Brendan's ready to go. He's like, we're going to sudden death. He knows.
He knows. Stephen King adaptation is about a writer who is being stalked by a man accused of plagiarism.
This is kind of an easy question. This is like a popular adaptation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was a little like, are these really terrible 5-pointers here? Come on.
Yeah. Well, the intern is like I can see that being a 3-pointer just because it wasn't as popular of a movie.
Right.
You know, it did have, you know, Anne Hathaway and Robert De Niro, both Oscar winners, but it wasn't a huge moneymaker.
Yeah, it wasn't a huge success. Like, I knew of it, but like I didn't hear about a huge rush to go out and see it.
Yes, it wasn't super popular, but A Secret Window. My dad knows that movie.
Like if you have no knowledge of those types of movies, you could definitely miss it. But if you have, and Stephen King has done so many big movies that you can't not have gone over a lot of that. And it gave some pretty good plot points too. So
you get a point.
Well, sometimes when giving plot, like a plot-based, like giving a plot, like name the plot of this movie, like name the plot of this 1995 thriller, you know, or like name the title of this 1995 thriller based off this plot. That's you know, it can be very easy for sure. No, sorry, not easy, but it can definitely very hard, especially when if you're gonna use like an indie movie or things like that. But
something that popular, but
that's a well-known movie. I'm like, but
this is the first round. You are perfect.
It's all subjective.
It is absolutely
subjective.
Now I didn't know it, but when I saw that, I'm like, I feel like that's a fairly easy one, even though I don't know the answer myself. So, but that's again. That everybody's been doing amazing this year with questions. It just
gonna hit that 5 probably. So
yes,
and I know you're gonna get.
Oh yeah, they
hitting that
question writers. Oh my gosh, everyone involved. That's amazing.
Everyone's gonna nitpick and Monday quarterback it, but at the end of the day, they're still amazing. So
yeah, absolutely.
And just Brendan being able to hit that 5 just kind of made it like he hit that impossible question, and then you get that question behind it. It's just like slightly anticlimactic.
It's just like it's really weird. I don't like to compare the two because again, it's all subjective, you know. But at the same time, it's just like.
Are you ready?
Yep.
Adam, are you ready?
Really? Okay.
Here we go.
Okay.
Which superhero actor plays Justin Long's boyfriend in Zack and Miri?
I was so excited to see this one. So excited. Brendan Routh, Superman himself.
Yes.
It's honestly it's probably it might be it's like my second favorite Kevin Smith movie.
Okay.
3, 2, 1.
Brandon Routh.
And Adam Collins.
Brandon Routh.
Tie game.
I always struggle with his last name pronouncing it. It never comes out the way I feel like it should when I try to say it.
I can spell it. That's all I got though.
But
I haven't heard anyone say it.
James DeMonaco directed the first 3 installments of what recent horror thriller franchise?
I got this wrong. I thought it was the Saw franchise.
Ah, very good.
It is not.
No, it is not.
Sorry, I think I've earned it today.
You have 5.
The heavy breathing.
I think. Wait, this one's Paranormal Activity. I think.
1.
Right?
Pens
Maybe.
Down and Adam Collins.
Yes, the Purge.
Purge.
Yeah.
Purge.
Game.
That
Next.
Purge.
Yeah, I thought
next
I could have sworn he did though.
Right,
Saw. What's it?
and-
I know I need to find out. Now I need to find out.
We're on a search.
I'm on the hunt, guys.
The game's afoot.
The subtitle of the second National
Brandon's
Treasure.
face. He's like, scrunches up that face.
Like those movies.
So funny.
Oh man, this question.
I knew this one, but I'm also a fan of
5,
these
4,
two movies. So
3,
Yes.
2, 1. Pen down, please. And
they're
Brendan
fun movies.
and Adam.
Book of Secrets.
Game still.
Brandon might have been hoping that Adam missed
A
that
lot of
one.
heavy breathing
Based
there.
on his
I mean, like,
Next
I'm sure he hopes
question
he
here,
misses any of them.
Oh, right, exactly. But it's like,
Get
I feel like this might be the one that I could.
This is it. This is the last one.
In the film Born on the 4th of July.
Oh
which
God, this
actor
question.
plays
Ugh.
Charlie,
This
who
is such a
travels
hard
with Ron to
question.
a village after being kicked out of a bar.
I've never seen Born on the 4th of July, to be honest. So
I haven't either. And like, I understand Collins' reasoning for him knowing, like, it makes sense of
Right, that's your own
knowing who else is in it. Like, it's just,
JT
it's
will-
associations.
In
That's the only way
Born
that you're going to find
July,
that.
this actor plays
Yeah.
paraplegic Charlie, who travels with Ron to a village after being kicked out of the bar.
I would have been like, I don't know, Nick Nolte.
Collins.
Nick Nolte
He's
would
like
have
low
been,
key in everything. He's low key in everything.
yeah, Nick Nolte would have been, I mean, they're about comparable ages, so it could have been a possibility.
Right. 3, 2, 1. All right, pens down, and we start with Collins
Willem Dafoe.
Oh, is it-
and
And
Brennan.
he knew it.
I have shot.
Oh, goodness. The heart. And Collins just like, oh boy, I made it.
Adam Collins, we're gonna bring here.
Whew,
My goodness,
that's a workout.
that one there, the Coyote. 4 and
I'm just gonna
Oof.
take that off right there.
Ugh.
Oh, shnikes. Oh,
Wow.
I feel like I just like I feel like I need to cry for some reason, even though I don't need to cry. Like that was
should be crying at this point.
Like well, there's some competitors, you know, for a fact, you're like, I'm such a crier. Like at every live event, I actively cry. When in Chicago, I cried at my first live event, you know, when the Odd Couple defeated Who's the Boss. I was like,
Yes.
they worked so hard.
Yeah.
They deserve this win. They did so good. And that and also New York when with Oyama and Snyder and actually Star Talk. That's probably the only live event I didn't cry at. That's my bad though.
Okay.
That's probably the only. But I did cry at Spectacular. Oh my gosh, I bawled like a baby.
All the tears for Spectacular.
Oh
I'm pretty sure
Oh,
I was watching that one live on the live stream, and I'm pretty sure I might have cried a little bit on that one. Because
I was
so much emotion.
big, so wonderful. He came out like Santa Claus, and he is like, and also there was that, and your guy came back with the video, and all like holding hands, like
I was gonna say, yeah, that definitely
we're all
got.
like huddled in the same like area of the yeah. But it's so I mean, like watching this match, it kind of gave a lot of those similar feelings because it was just so, it was like roller coaster of emotions.
It was. Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Well, I do want to kind of go back. We're going to be diving into some of our competitor profiles here in just a minute, but we're going to dive back into the, stats again. Now that before we kind of review the stats, we just watched the match again, just a quick refresh. But looking at this now, is there anything in particular that, stands out to you? I am personally, I know I am completely amazed with the accuracy still. There's only 2 points, 2 points off from Meyer. Collins only got one question wrong. It's crazy to me.
Yeah, and something that I'm still kind of banking up a more comprehensive history of the league itself, but it still amazes me the idea of someone getting a lower potential points earned percentage than their opponent and still winning. That blows my mind. And the way that Collins did that was because he missed the 3-pointer. And ultimately that got him to them going into overtime, and earned him the win. But just the idea of someone being able to go through that and have that lower PPE percentage and still win is kind of crazy. Just the numbers of it is insane.
It is absolutely crazy. I am really curious to think that this is a kind of match. This is, again, I do feel like this is a championship level match. It went down to the wire. Both competitors performed amazingly, very consistently throughout the whole thing. And these are also from two competitors that we definitely expected great things. But, one of them's a rookie.
Yeah.
He just had his first match a few months ago. Right. And the other competitor, is in his, I believe in his second year. And so we expect great things from him. Yeah, absolutely. But we didn't expect this, if that makes sense. I don't know. I mean, I do, but I don't, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And it's one of those, I was reserving some judgment about Adam Collins just because I hadn't seen a ton of matches from him. Yeah. But after seeing this, I'm like, okay. I am never one to crown anyone top this or whatever until towards the end of the season, just for myself. But he was on my radar initially. He is definitely on my radar for great things down the line. Just because we have seen him go toe-to-toe with someone who pushed him to his absolute limits. Yes, Roka was a tough competitor for him, but he didn't have to go into the third round. He was able to stay on top the entire time. Whereas here, this was so much more for a chance for an up and down of.
Well, I definitely agree with you. This was the first match where his competitors. Okay, John Roka lost because John Roka wasn't there. If that makes sense. He didn't seem as focused as he usually is. He spun he spun westerns, I believe, and that's his strength. Yes. He didn't do great, so that was really surprising. And so Roka lost because Roka lost. Yes. It's not because Adam did amazing. He did great, don't get me wrong.
Absolutely.
It's not because he did it was because Roka didn't bring it. And same for Lon. Lon hit a slice that is just not up his alley. And he admitted. He's like, usually I'm great, but that's just like a really hit and miss, kind of slice. You just don't know.
The broad categories strike again.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so hard to kind of determine that. But this one, shit. they both got slices like neither one of them were super excited about. There were not strengths. They weren't necessarily weaknesses, but they were definitely you're in the gray zone there. Mm-hmm. But they definitely had to work for it, pretty consistently throughout the whole thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Now I do want to there was a comment here, Ryan Kramer, about yes. So I do build steal opportunities into the potential points earned calculations. However, if you're given an opportunity to steal a 1 point on multiple choice, your potential points is only 1 point because that's what's given you. Versus if it's a 2 point steal, you have a potential to get 2 points. That is worked into there. Absolutely. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, great question, Ryan, and thank you for asking. I really appreciate it. Yes, this is actually called the calculations.
Yes.
Coming in. A new show brought to you by our dear lovely Megs, Stats Queen. Okay. Now let's talk specifically about our competitor profiles. Like if this is like I said, we're trying something new. We kind of want your input. Let us know. But I do want to talk about these competitors. Now these we do know both these competitors. This is not their final match of the seasons. Obviously, we're going to see more of Brendan and being part of Shazam. In their upcoming match, obviously, and. Also for Adam Collins, he's going to be participating in Deception, a brand new amazing team. Yes. Tournament with Marisol McKee. Girl,
so excited.
So excited. Yeah. Yes. Now that being said, though, so this is not the last of either of them. However, looking at this, what is something like? What is looking at a competitor? You looking at the numbers, looking at their body language and everything. What advice would you have to someone like Adam Collins? Like, what would you want to kind of let him know or kind of be aware of? What do you think he needs to kind of take it to the next level?
Absolutely. So, I feel like he is in a very solid place so far as a competitor. We've seen him hop out ever so slightly. When he missed that 3-pointer, I saw him kind of sit back like, oh, I just missed that. And then he just leaned right back into it. He stays locked in. The only thing I could potentially see is that he knew he had to bring it with Meyer, but just as people were underestimating him, I could see him getting caught by underestimating someone and not being as aggressive in a match. If he finds himself getting sat back on his heels by somebody who is bringing it that day and maybe he's a little off that day, because I see him being so chill. And while chill is good for keeping your nerves down, if you need to amp yourself up to go after a match to hit into that next level, I haven't seen him do that yet.
Yes, absolutely.
So that's like the only thing that I'm kind of nitpicking in, and that's going to very much depend on who he's up against. Right now, what he's doing is working. But there's going to be that competitor that's going to take him by surprise, potentially. And also, too, if he continues on this trajectory, what's he going to do with the speed round? What's he going to do in a betting round situation?
Girl.
Girl.
And because I'm so here for it.
Because he is chill. And when you're in that speed round, you have to be on top of it and quick on your noggin for that.
Absolutely agree. You kind of now when you say that description, it kind of reminds me of another really great competitor that we weren't super sure about not too long ago, and that was a Mr. Ethan Irwin. Obviously,
very true.
And becoming a champion that also, is he's called out for his chillness on many occasions. And he's a competitor you cannot shake. You just can't, no matter how hard you try. But he is going to be going up against Tom here pretty soon, so we'll see how that goes. Okay, so you talked about his pros and cons a little bit. You talked about how he is, so far he's immovable, because he is so chill. But also we're kind of curious to see him going up against a competitor that is maybe someone like an Andrew Guy. That has a big, bold personality that's going to be come at you a little bit,
A potential is going to be Snyder.
Snyder, yeah, that could happen. Oh my gosh. That would be really fun to see. Oh my gosh.
I would love to see that. I would love to see Snyder and Collins at the for the final. Just for the pure comedy storyline of it would just be hilarious. Amazing to watch.
Yeah. Well, obviously, Adam Collins is going to be going up against LaShannon Miller, and these are two amazing competitors. Obviously, love them both. But these are also two very chill.
They are.
whatever happens, happens kind of situation.
Mhm.
You know, it's definitely, I'm excited to see that either way. So, but it's also, that's not going to be a match where we're going to be like, someone's going to kick it in the door and be like,
Right.
yeah, come at me, bruh. You know,
No,
there's
not
not
at all.
really like fireworks or anything there. Now that was Adam Collins. Now let's talk about the pros and cons of Brendan Meyer through this match. Now, big pro from Brendan Meyer, obviously the knowledge. The man is able to really redeem himself so quickly in a match, refocus himself, and that's such a hard thing to do for so many competitors. Even veteran competitors have a hard time really pulling themselves out of that situation, that mindset once they're a few points behind. Cons, though, I do feel like sometimes. I know he's able to refocus, but I do wonder if he is able to, if he has a hard time letting things go, essentially.
True.
If he misses a 5-pointer or whatever it may be, I wonder how long that's gonna really affect him. Say watching him in this match in particular, after he missed his 2-pointer, even like going into the third round, you could see it on his face where he's like, I didn't play that question right. I should have done a GTE. I should have done something. I
should have gone in multiple choice. Like,
he should have been smarter about it, and he didn't. Yeah. And I saw that on his face going into the third round, obviously. So I kind of wonder if that might be a big con, as far as him as a competitor. Not so much a big con, but just something to think about. Are there any cons to you as a competitor? Do you think that it's like he might have to, kind of think, keep in mind when training or anything?
Yeah, so with Meyer, like he does tend to, he wears his facial emotions on his sleeve. Like you can tell what he's thinking most of the time. He doesn't switch on the poker face when he plays necessarily. But, and also too, I think with him being in singles, he's much harder on himself for having to be the most knowledgeable and be the most strategic. Versus, I think when he plays on Shazam, yes, he brings a lot of knowledge, but he brings more of the strategy side of his half when he deals with Shazam. Because Viviani's not as big into that, whereas that's something that Meyer can concentrate much more on is the strategy of things. Versus when he's in singles, he has to juggle both.
Yeah.
And that can be much more stressful. And just in general, somebody who is, that's the big difference between having to compete in singles versus teams. So feeling like he can lean on his manager more for that in singles might benefit him more because he is trying to juggle it himself. But understanding that you're playing the game that's in front of you. And I think he understands that. I think he will beat himself up so much more over strategic error than he will a knowledge-based error.
Yes.
100% of the time. Because he understands you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
But you can control your strategy.
Yes. I absolutely agree with you there. Okay, so obviously, this is not an episode we're going to talk about the next year's draft or anything like that, but I do kind of want to dive into, potential, now we talked about like these character profiles, like their pros and their strengths and weaknesses as competitors and everything. What do you think, starting with Adam, that Adam needs in a manager? What do you think he needs in a manager, period, at all? Like in order for that good relationship, competitor-coach relationship to work, what do you think he needs? Because I feel like there's a lot of competitors, if they're with the right manager, it is beautiful. But obviously, there's a lot of competitors when they're working with a certain manager, it doesn't always work. Sometimes it's all about the chemistry. Maybe it's they're not offering they're not offering the specific skills that they need, or maybe it's just a personality thing. And finding the right manager is huge. Like, for example, I think Winston and Ace perfect combo.
Mhm.
Clay and Bibbs, perfect combo. Emily Jacobson and Finstock, not a good combo. Now, no.
No, I'm sorry.
No.
Love them both, but no.
No. For whatever reason. But okay, so with that being said, who do you think are, obviously Shannon's doing amazing with them, but what are other managers do you think Adam would do mesh well with?
So, kind of seeing and hearing some of the conversations that he's had on various shows, I think Collins really appreciates a manager who is going to put in work with him. I think he does his homework. He puts in work to strategy because he's used to doing it on his own and with other faction or other leagues. But I think if he had someone like, say, someone who's just purely a mouthpiece and doesn't do as much outside of that, I think he would feel frustrated. I think he could still do it because he's going to put in the work himself, but he would feel less confident going in knowing that I just did all this work myself. I need someone else to come alongside me to help me feel reassured that I've done everything that I needed to do.
A solid support group.
Yes, absolutely.
A faction family situation.
Mm-hmm.
I totally agree. With that being said, is there a manager or two in mind that you think would work well with Adam?
So besides Shannon, I feel like from the work and community that he builds, I think that Coy or Winston could do really well. But there would have to be an adjustment to Collins's character to reflect that. Because right now, his kind of brooding, sly, slightly edgy character fits in so well with Korruption and Shannon being over the top with her character. Where you put him with someone like Coy, it's going to feel like two polar opposites. So then Collins would have to kind of up his energy level a little bit to mesh in with that a little bit better.
Yeah.
So Winston or Coy could be a good match. Sam could be, given that you also have Rachel in your corner as well to help with that.
Always a good resource. Forever a great resource.
Always a great resource. A dark horse good pick could also be Kaiser. Because he...
Oh, girl.
Because if he keeps some of his key competitors that are up to bringing in all those practices and everything, Kaiser's got that edge, but he's also got that really good support in match to help as well. So that's a little bit of a dark horse pick.
Yes, I kind of went in a very similar direction that you did with one oddball one.
Okay.
I have to say Winston. Winston, great mouthpiece. I think what they need is a great mouthpiece, but also a hype man. I think he's a great hype man. And Winston, and Kaiser are definitely some of the best. Right. I also think Roxy could do that.
As soon as you started talking, I'm like, oh, she went with Roxy.
Okay, so I say that because Roxy is something that I've been told that she does really great is make her faction feel like a family. Okay, and so in having that support group and also having competitors, hypothetically, like I don't think they're going to be on the same faction unless they win the tournament. But I hypothetically having Jeff and Draco and some other competitors like Stacy, in your corner is our great combo of people that I think would mesh well with him. Now, obviously, this is like a whole hypothetical situation. It's
throwing things out there.
Not even close to a draft. People are just low key being like, hey, If you want to chat, here's my number. That's the whole situation between managers and competitors right now, obviously. Okay, so we talked about Adam. One of the ones we kind of both referenced was Winston and Kaiser. So that's it sounds like our two major suggestions for Adam. Now, let's talk about Brendan. Brendan, what does Brendan need in a manager? I think he does need a hype man. I also think he needs someone to help refocus him.
Agreed.
Like, bring it in, be able to read and recognize him very adequately. Because of that, I think Finstock. I know, crazy. Finstock or Kaiser.
Okay.
I know it's crazy.
A little crazy, but I'll hear you out.
I know. Okay, it's not about the heel thing or anything like that. It's just that, in particular, Finstock is able to. He is at his beck and call for all of his competitors all the time. They have huge study sessions. They have a beach for everyone at the thing. It's a real family vibe going on, and plus having the resources that he does. He is a great strategist. We can talk about he's he's an alien or whatever it may be. He's like
whatever.
Like selling drugs to 9-year-olds or whatever maybe, but just like walking around shirtless, down Rodeo Drive, for no reason. But he is a really great schmodown strategist, and I think he's also really great with helping his competitors refocus as well. And he's really great with reading body language. So that's why I think that could help with with Brendan, but also again with Kaiser. I think it's a lot of the same pros, honestly, as Finstock, but it just comes down to, would he want someone that's so
nice,
loud? By comparison, loud, true. Like that kind of attitude going into a match, because he's not okay with that being like that kind of back and forth and everything. And obviously Brendan, he's an actor, he's great with improv and all that good stuff, but if he's comfortable with that kind of back and forth and doing that whole character thing, I think it could be amazing. But it's also, it would be a very new vibe essentially compared to someone like that,
absolutely,
who he obviously works well with,
right? Obviously. So yeah, I agree. Winston would probably be a good fit as well.
I know.
Finstock. Here's my thought on Finstock. Finstock, with the correct other competitors on his faction, can have all that you described. He loses Barbarian, Bateman, Roka Dan. What does he have left?
But the thing is, he's going to keep 3 of those competitors. Keep that in mind.
Okay.
Keep that in mind. Bateman, obviously, that's not going to happen. But Craig is someone I know for a fact he's going to stay. And I think Craig is a amazing asset to have on any
absolutely.
As someone, he's also a really great strategist. He is someone that's excellent when it comes to. He is honestly low key. Like a manager, to the
absolutely. If
Finstock isn't available, you call Craig, because
absolutely
he's available to help train. He's available to help you refocus. He's there with whatever you need. And I'm saying it because Bateman, John, Dan, they all say the same thing.
They all say it. Absolutely.
Craig is the guy to help them out. And I do think that's why. And he works well with Finstock, and I think that's the main reason why, honestly, that could happen. As long as he has Craig in his corner still, I don't think there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Yeah, I think the reason I don't instantly jump on Finstock is just because my view is, unless he has guaranteed other people on his faction, he's not going to be able to create that type of thing again. And that's just my view on how I've seen him behave this season. Now, whether or not it's just this format and what we're able to see isn't properly viewing what is actually happening, that could be just the way I'm perceiving what's going on. But then also, as far as Meyer is concerned and other factions, I think that besides Koi, it's a little bit of a departure, and it might not necessarily work from the kind of the heel and kid mentality, but Roxy has done so well with Snyder and refocusing him in this season. That has kind of given me a bit of a boost in like, okay, Roxy is another contender for that as well. So
absolutely. I definitely agree with everything you're saying. It comes down to what are the people that he surrounds himself with. I definitely agree with you there. And also everyone in the chat, if you're hanging out, I know there's a handful of you guys that are hanging out with us. We really appreciate it. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. Please, while you're here, give us a like, give us a thumbs up, leave us a comment. That would mean the world to us, Megs and I. But also let us know your opinions. What factions would you be kind of curious to see these competitors align themselves with, in the new season? Ryan says Dan and Roka would defect together. Bateman could take Barbarian with him wherever he plans to go. Finstock would be left with Riley, Demolanta, and Sabrina as his waivers. Now, that's very actually I'm gonna keep that up. That's very interesting. However, Finstock, he's the one that decides on who to keep. And sure, hypothetically, he could draft Bateman, and there's nothing Ben could do about it. And but Ben could just say, "No, I'm not gonna play with you," and that means he's just not gonna get matches until he's traded potentially or whatever it may be. So that could be like a potential storyline situation.
Storyline, but definitely not smart. If you already know a competitor doesn't want to play with you, why would you? I think that's why nobody went after Korruption, because Mike wasn't going to play for anybody else.
There's no point. And she also drafted them as a team in the first round. So
right, exactly. But yeah,
it's just like they will do. You think is like the first 3 rounds, like the first 2-3 rounds already are also essentially set in stone, because managers keep 3 competitors in their roster from their current faction.
Now,
it's just a matter of which they are.
Right. And now, also, could it potentially be that your 3 aren't currently on your faction?
Yeah, exactly.
Because that's the thing. You could totally abandon all of your faction, keep maybe 1 or 2, and sign somebody else who is looking for another faction already.
Well, that makes it that's the thing. That makes it very difficult, because for this faction in particular, well, in the case of Korruption, what she's really fantastic with is rookies. Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Miracle. Claudia did fantastic, in her debut match. Even though she lost, she did great, though. We didn't really see anything from Mara Hoik, obviously, this season. But yeah, Marisol and Adam, she built from the ground up, and they succeeded, arguably, because of her. No, scratch that. They succeeded because she drafted them and she worked with them and trained them, from what I've been told. And that kind of begs the question, even because they're successful, other faction managers want them. But that also makes you wonder, does that mean just because she built them up, does that mean she decides she gets to keep them?
And that's going to be interesting with this whole you keep 3 and the rest go into free agency for the draft, because you put all this work into a rookie or into a established player to get them built up, and you can't justify keeping them as your 3. Do you risk losing some of your bigger hitters in those first couple rounds just to not lose all this work that you just put in? That puts managers in a very sticky situation.
Absolutely. So you're thinking, in someone's like Shannon's situation, she's obviously going to keep Korruption, But who's our third competitor going to be? I think it's going to be between Laura Kelly and Adam Collins. And one of them is another singles teams competitor, which, obviously Shannon would already have. But you can argue it would be smarter to keep Laura, in her thing.
Agreed.
It's in a completely different league.
It's a completely different league, but she's also only in that league.
Yes, that's true.
So that's a tough gamble. And I'm trying to think. I can't remember the draft order now. What was the earliest round that a Star Wars player was picked up? Can you think? I don't remember. I feel like it was fairly late. So with those very highly specialized players, unless you're talking about the champion or the number one contender,
or maybe like a multi-league, like an IG Star Wars competitor.
Yeah, so I mean, like, obviously Damon, even if he somehow loses the Star Wars championship, he's still a significant threat in both that and IG. So that he would definitely be one that you would want to keep. Okay,
that's because he's also he's also a multi-leaguer. Right at this point, it was announced that he was going to be playing in IG, and obviously it was worthwhile because he did really great in the IG tournament. Obviously, he beat two competitors, in his debut. Okay, man, that was a big conversation.
It was a big conversation. It was awesome, though.
This is a fun conversation. So, you guys, again, we want to know what you think. What factions do you think Brendan Meyer, currently with the Quirky Merc, do you think he should be open to?
Who should he think?
And same for Adam. Who should he be open to, just in case Shannon decides, hey, I want to keep Laura Kelly, or hey, in that case, Laura, if Shannon decides she wants to keep, Adam Collins, what Star Wars competitor should she consider? I don't want to think. This is actually really hard. I don't want to think about this anymore. I'm getting emotional. You guys hanging out with us. I really, really appreciate it. Okay, so let's go ahead and wrap it up. Megs, do you have any final thoughts you kind of want to proclaim before we kind of tag it up?
Just keep an eye out on the MTS Facebook pages as well as the faction pages and my Twitter and Instagram here. I'll be dropping all the stats, all the breakdowns for these last few matches, and I've got some recaps from the tournaments coming up that'll be neat to look at. So look forward to more things to come.
Yes, absolutely. So much good stuff for sure. And I'm Alex Mack, part of the Collection crew, and you can find me right here on Twitter. You can also find me at a few other places, not affiliated with C2A, but 95% of the time it's affiliated with C2A. I host a show called Cinema Vice with Drew Grant, aka Video Drew from Schmodown. And my battery is low. I should plug that in sucker real fast. But we kind of dive into movies that really challenge us, movies that are kind of outside our wheelhouse. Last week we really dove into a first time watch for me, which was a Blair Witch Project. And we actually had the producer behind the movie, Kevin Fox, actually join us. So it was so much fun diving into that movie. Yeah, it was a huge, the movie that spawned a million found footage movies that inspired an entire generation of filmmakers. And this upcoming week on Tuesday, that's on Tuesdays at 10 o'clock Central, and we're going to be diving into the movie It Follows. I've never seen it before. And we're having Eric Zipper on board as our guest. So it's going to be a real fun
Very
time.
Good. So much. Always love seeing Eric.
He's wonderful. He's one of my faves. That's absolutely true. All right. Yeah. Zipper cannot move from the dungeon, though. That's no. Nay, sir. Nay. All right, guys. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. You guys have a great rest of your evening. Wear a mask. And Megs, do you have any final words?
Let's keep rolling.
Watching movies. Bye, guys. Bye. Bye-bye.